Good morning, and welcome to Redeemer Lutheran Church in Columbia, South Carolina, where we're part of the ELCA. I'm Pastor Gary Lodeholt. There's a great story about a man as he's leaving his house for work when his wife says, "Don't forget what day it is." "I haven't," he replied, sure that he had forgotten their anniversary. Later that day, he ordered flowers to be delivered to his wife. Then he made reservations at a swanky restaurant for dinner and the two of them that evening. He purchased a necklace for her and gave it to her when he got home. That night after their nice dinner, she said, "You know, this was the most wonderful Groundhog Day I've ever had." Let me assure you that even though I'm telling you that story, it's not autobiographical. It's not about me. It is, however, about Ascension Day. I often think of Ascension Day as the most important day we forget to celebrate. You might remember what it's about, how Jesus took the disciples out to the Mount of Olives and from there ascended into heaven. We have this image of the disciples staring up into heaven as a cloud hides Jesus from view. Then two angels appear and ask the disciples why they are staring up into heaven, and then give them the assurance that Jesus will return. Frankly, we don't pay the day much attention, and it deserves more significance than we give it. There's a pretty good reason why it goes unnoticed most years. The Bible tells us that this happened 40 days after the resurrection, and if you count the days from Easter, it comes out on a Thursday. In fact, that's this coming Thursday. Most of us aren't in the habit of going to worship on Thursdays, and so somehow this day passes by unnoticed. Sometimes, since it falls between the 6th and 7th Sunday of Easter, I'll choose one of those days to talk about the ascension of Jesus in my sermon. And actually, for the rest of this week after today, I'm going to share some of those sermons with you. But that's the rest of the week. Today, I hope to share some basic thoughts and insights about the ascension that speak to our lives. And we start with those two angels asking about why those disciples stare up into heaven after him. You see, the ascension isn't about Jesus leaving or disappearing. Rather, the ascension is about his coronation. The crucified and risen Christ now rules all creation. I believe you'll see that coming along in a couple of sermons later this week. Still, we need to see the point that this doesn't mean that Easter is over. It means that Easter is being fulfilled. Jesus is taking his rightful place at God's throne to rule all creation. Then there is the aspect of all this that I suspect you've never thought about before: the cloud. As Jesus ascends, they watch him go until a cloud hides him from their view. Well, this is not just some random weather report. Throughout the Scriptures, clouds are signs of God's presence. For example, God appeared in a cloud on Mount Sinai. Isaiah speaks of the cloud filling the temple. And who can forget the cloud guiding Israel through the wilderness? The cloud in the story doesn't exist simply to hide Jesus from view. No. It represents Jesus entering fully into God's presence. As Jesus enters the cloud, it means that Jesus had entered fully into the heavenly domain. Jesus comes into God's heavenly throne room. The cloud is the glory of God welcoming the Son. From there, Christ rules, and from there, Christ will return. One final thing for today is to consider what the ascension means for our vocation. I use the word vocation, not vacation. The disciples were kind of taking a vacation on that mountain as they stared up into the sky. But the two figures who appeared then asked them what they were doing. And the implication is, why are you spending your time staring after Jesus? Get on with the business of living your faith and telling others the good news of grace and love. The word vocation means calling, and that is the call of every one of us. In our jobs, in our daily living, our vocation is to proclaim Jesus. We can't just sit around staring at the sky. We are called to live in response to all that Jesus means. We are to live in God's kingdom always and in all ways. So again, for the rest of this week, I'm going to share with you some sermons I have written over the years highlighting the Ascension. Thursday, let's not forget this day. Thanks for sharing these moments with me, and remember to let this day belong to God.